Well, thank you for joining us today. We've got about 170 people and more calling in on the line. It's really exciting to be talking with you in this way. A couple of things that we're going to talk about today is we're going to first of all review the FDA's just released emergency use authorizations for personal protective equipment, for ventilators, and then just this morning, 3D printing guidance that they've released. We'll spend probably a half an hour talking about these things. And then our goal is to very briefly for each person, open up the mic and allow our healthcare systems, our credible manufacturers, and our material suppliers all around to have about 30 seconds to a minute to tell us what your needs and what your offerings are, what you're able to offer to the community. And we do have your email address. You can let us know whether it's okay to get in touch with you through that. After that, we'll have a Q&A. And we're going to start here in just a minute. I do need to do one thing out of order, and I think that is maybe if Kelly Sexton is on the line. I know you are only going to be able to be with us for just a minute. Kelly Sexton is head of U of M's Office of Technology Transfer. Wondering if one of my moderators could open up her line for just a second. She's going to give us all an example of this 30-second pitch for what your entity needs and what your entity is doing. And so what we're looking for is, my name is, I work for, we need, we're offering, and contact me. And I know U of M is doing some great things. We're going to hear from a lot of other health systems, as well as manufacturers and material suppliers later in this thing. But if we've got Kelly made live there, can we hear you, Kelly? We're just going to find her here. Kelly, can you hear us now?
Yep, I've been able to hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we would just love to hear from you. You're going to be the example to everybody for what the elevator pitch for your entity looks like. So we're all going to get to do this later in the call after our presentation, but we were glad you could join us for just a few minutes. Wanted you to give the pitch for what U of M needs and is offering.
Awesome. And Jean, I just want to thank you so much for doing this. And I've actually cleared my calendar so I can stay on and listen, because I know it's going to be great and relevant content.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Kelly Sexton, and my role is Associate Vice President for Research, Tech Transfer, and Innovation Partnerships at the University of Michigan. And so our team quickly realized that there were so many ways that people and companies wanted to connect with and help Michigan medicine. And we have a great opportunity at the U of M, having not only the clinical need, but also having great engineering expertise in-house. And so a multifunctional team of University of Michigan clinicians, groups from our College of Engineering, Biomedical Engineering, Industrial Operations Engineering, the Center for Healthcare Engineering and Patient Safety, have come together and are trying to rapidly design alternative and emerging sources of personal protective equipment, sterilization tools, and other in-demand materials. So my role has been to try to help make connections between that group and their needs and industry, specifically manufacturers in our region. And so to that end, we have put together a survey that can be found on our website. But if you want to send me an email, I'd be glad to put you in touch with it. And we're just trying to curate the capacity of companies that want to participate in this. We're also very hopeful that what we come up with at the University of Michigan is going to be able to be deployed to benefit our region, our state, and hopefully our country as we all work together against COVID-19.
Thank you for that, Kelly. And so they can get a hold of that survey. Is there any direct way to get hold of it, or should they reach out through some of these shared channels that we're establishing here?
Sure. I mean, you feel free to email me directly. It's kbsexton@umich.edu. It's also on the tech transfer website, but I'm happy to respond to anyone, make the connection, and send the link. And again,
Yeah.
Jean, thank you for doing this. This is really fantastic.
Thank you all for being here. That's a great example. We're going to give the healthcare systems a little bit of extra time to just tell us that same kind of thing. So if you're here from Spectrum, you're here from Henry Ford Health Service, you're from Beaumont, whatever, we want to hear from you later in the call. Kelly, great example of a quick little pitch. That's what we're going to be looking for later on here. So thank you. We're going to go back to the top, and we're going to talk about the FDA's emergency use authorizations, first of all, for personal protective equipment, then for ventilators, and then breaking news on the 3D printing guidance. Throughout this, Aaron from our team is going to be posting the links to these documents to the following address, intobeing.com/COVID-19-regulatory-links. And I think it was Aaron who on our test call a minute ago said this webinar is going to be just like the COVID-19 crisis, constantly emerging and constantly changing. So thank you for working with us through all the ups and downs and bumps that we're going to go through, but it's going to be a good talk. What I want to start with is understanding the FDA, because all of these emergency use authorizations and guidances and everything that's changing on a day-by-day basis really hews back to FDA's fundamental way of operating. And it all starts with this concept of intended use. What is the purpose for which you are selling or distributing a device? Here's an example with scalpels. If you needed something to cut with, which of these would do the job? Honestly, as we all know today, any of them would do the job for what we need to do. But they're not all medical devices. The first one is not a medical device. It's an X-Acto knife. It's sharp. You could cut tissue with it, but it's just an X-Acto knife. The next one is a scalpel, and it's a Class 1 medical device subject to regulations. The next one is a Class 2 medical device. It's a cervical cone knife. These three sharp pieces of metal, any one of which would serve in an emergency, are all categorized and regulated differently. And the basis of that is the intended use of the device, what you're saying it's good for. Start translating that over to the world of masks and respirators and other things like that, and you'll quickly see that what you're trying to get the device out there and say that it does makes all the difference in the world as to how FDA is going to respond to it. Their mandate is to think about benefit risk. They understand that there are risks. They're opening up a lot of pathways. Their job is to help us balance between those benefits and those risks while trying to maintain safety and efficacy of the devices that make it out there. They've made some unprecedented allowances and guidances, and that's what we're going to talk about here. Their justification in all of this is that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is life-threatening, and it's reasonable to believe that these allowances may still be effective in use. They can't guarantee it, but they think they may still be effective, and there is no adequate alternative. So therefore, the benefits of using these allowances outweigh the risks. That's fully within FDA's risk-benefit framework. They're still operating within that. Go ahead, is that Adrian?
Yeah, it's me, I'm sorry. We're trying to figure out how to get your attention. The slides aren't updating.
Slides aren't updating, thank you. Thanks for bumping in. We're gonna do this. Is that showing up for everybody, at least in this regard? It's not the greatest, but it's showing up. Okay. We're going to cheat it like that. Hope no one minds. So everything that FDA is doing is entirely within their benefit risk framework. And I encourage each one of you, no matter whether your role is in a hospital system or a manufacturer or an innovator or a material supplier, to recognize that the less you say about the device, the better off you are. It's better to not make claims than to make grandiose claims. So let's talk about face masks and respirators. FDA has been issuing emergency use authorizations and guidances rapid fire, one on March 2nd, one on March 24th, and a guidance just the other day. And with regard to face masks and respirators, their focus has been highly on what are called disposable FFRs, or filtered face respirators.
So you can come upstairs.
We commonly know these as N95s. What FDA has said is that you don't need FDA clearance to put a mask out there. They've largely turned control over that to CDC and NIOSH's N95 standard. Now the catch is that N95 is still a certification process. So FDA first started out by saying, well, N95s that have passed certification, you can make a request of us and we'll almost automatically say, yep, it's okay to use. Next came expired N95s. Even if they're past their use date, FDA is saying, please apply to us, tell us, let us know, but pretty much you're going to get the green light to take those expired N95s in. That's important. If you're aware of a stockpile of expired ones, those you can still submit to FDA under this EUA and get a way to use them. Then, more recently, they opened up standards compliant filtered face respirators. Those don't meet the N95 standard, but they meet some other international or national standard put forward by Australia, Brazil, the European Union, Japan, Korea, or Mexico. If you're an importer or you're looking to get your hands on masks, if you can find ones that are standards compliant and the specific standards are listed in the emergency use authorization, that's a great option as well. Again, it's got to be requested to FDA, but they're ready to put those on an approved list. Finally, authorized FFRs that have a marketing authorization in another country, they're ready to transfer those over as well. The EU, Canada, Australia, and Japan. So this is the base level that FDA is trying to do to open up the availability of what we think of as commonly N95s, filtered face respirators. In general, the process for allowance for those is you need to send a request to FDA. The details of that are in the emergency use authorizations. You're still going to have to abide by CDC guidelines in the labeling and use of those. And these are for healthcare providers in healthcare settings. Don't take advantage of this EUA to try to ship them in for general public use. That's not going to be what FDA is looking for. And it's for the duration of the COVID crisis. If we go to the next slide, what this allows those companies to do is to waive the good manufacturing practice requirements that FDA would normally impose on a manufacturer or an importer of those masks. It doesn't completely remove the responsibility. These companies are still required to report adverse events, just like you would for a normal medical device. It has to have labeling per NIOSH and CDC. And this is interesting. Pay attention to this one for anyone who's thinking about innovation right now. It must not suggest that they are safe and effective against COVID-19. Remember our 3 scalpels? The X-Acto knife isn't making any claims. It's just a sharp blade. The one on the other side is making all sorts of claims. The best thing that you can do for whatever effort you're looking for is to identify the minimum claims you need if you're trying to get hold of masks, or the minimum claims that you can put forward if you're trying to get the masks out there. We just shoot ourselves in the foot by saying, oh, this is going to prevent COVID, or oh, this is going to cure this or that. Please get that language out of it. That will make everybody's life easier. You're also going to have to maintain all records indefinitely for inspection by FDA. And there's some extra labeling and communications requirements for devices that are being imported. So that's a bit about the filtered face respirators. In the end game, these are medical devices, but they'll cease to be medical devices when FDA retracts the emergency use authorization, unless you happen to label them as medical devices in the meantime, in which case you'd be subject to all the normal regulations. So that's about a bit about FFRs. If there's stock out there, FDA is making it as easy as possible to find a way to justify bringing that stock in, ramping that stock up, using it. A lot of you are going to say, that's not enough. We can't even find the stock. We don't even know what to do, and we've got things we're trying here. Let's talk about that next. There's an enforcement guidance document that was just released in the last day or two. And basically, this is talking about the next step down. What if we can't really officially operate under the emergency use authorization? What if we're not in a position to import or ramp up manufacturing on masks? Well, number one, FDA still wants to talk with you if you think you could qualify for a slightly different emergency use authorization. If you don't feel like you fit quite within what we just talked about, they're still interested in talking with you. There's an email address in the guidance. And these guidances, and Aaron, you can come off mute if you want to. I believe these are posted on the website that we shared at the beginning. Is that correct? He must still be on mute. We'll keep going. FDA wants to talk to you also about reprocessing. There's a lot of people who are working on reprocessing of filtered face respirators, and FDA is very focused on that as well. They actually have a lot of technical guidance in this guidance document talking about what successful reprocessing looks like. So if you're engaged, and I've talked to a few people who are, if you're engaged in researching the reprocessing of these devices, please have a look at this guidance. Talk to us if you have any questions about it, but they actually want to talk to you, and they've already laid out what their expectations around reprocessing are. So please have a look at that. And now somebody's going to say, well, those aren't options I have. This is great, but I don't even have those options. I'm more desperate than that. And FDA has kindly laid out a few step downs below that. One is surgical face masks. This is before we get into almost no regulation. Surgical face masks are expected to meet flammability and fluid ingress requirements. Those tests would still need to be done, but if you have the opportunity to provide something that can act as a surgical face mask and can test it to those fluid ingress and flammability requirements, they still have a pathway within this guidance to open the door to you and say, that's fine, go ahead and use it. And that would provide our healthcare workers with more assurance that they're getting that splash protection and that flammability protection in the anesthetic environment. As we go into these categories, I'm just going to reference my notes here. One of the things that FDA is looking for information on, if they're going to say, hey, those are great, let's take a lot of those, is body contacting materials. What materials are actually going in contact with the body? They're looking for there to be no antiviral, particulate, or infection prevention claims. Remember what we talked about before? The claims actually shoot us in the foot. It sounds great, but make the lowest claims that you possibly can and ask for the lowest claims that you possibly can, because that's going to make everybody's life easier. When it comes to medical face masks, this is getting down to almost no regulation. FDA is still regulating those, and they're going to open up the floodgates if you can just tell them, this is a face mask, we're basically making no claims around it. We'll tell you the body contacting materials. We're not going to have any drug additives to it. We're not going to have any antivirals, particulate claims, or infection prevention claims. And we're going to, as a manufacturer distributor of them, make recommendations to reduce the risk of use. Tell what you can about how to use these things safely under the emergency conditions. Well, what about if we don't have option for any of those? FDA has very clearly said that if it wasn't a medical face mask to start off with, and it didn't have a certification claim around the particulate filtering size, it's not a medical device. People are free to sell dust masks all day long. Go make dust masks if that's the option that's left. And there's a little bit in there, go ahead and read it if you are intending to go in that direction. But they've really staggered down the tiers, telling us what's expected at each level. And as a last resort, I just want to read you this body of text from FDA. I'm sorry, it's not in the presentation. FDA recognizes that when alternatives, such as FDA cleared masks or respirators, are unavailable, individuals, doesn't say companies, so parse that how you will, including healthcare professionals, might improvise personal protective equipment. FDA does not intend to object to individuals' distribution and use of improvised PPE when no alternatives, such as FDA cleared masks or respirators, are available. So FDA has given us this tiered category of how you can think about each one of these. And at the very end, they said, we recognize that people are going to do what they have to, and other people are going to help them in an emergency. So I think this guidance has become pretty clear. We'll be taking questions a little bit later in this to talk about. If you have them, please pop them into the Q&A form. Don't use the chat form, use the Q&A form for those questions. I'm just going to check in with my managers over here, make sure everyone's still hearing and seeing okay before we go on to the ventilator stuff. Can somebody pop onto audio and let me know how we're doing?
Doing great.
Okay, awesome. Well, the EUAs are coming fast and furious. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing about PPEs. I think we said this earlier. If you are putting stuff out there, one of the things that FDA is very interested in knowing when you send them an email saying, hey, we're doing this, give us approval, and that's all listed in the EUAs. Body contacting materials listed. If it's a cotton face mask, tell them. If it's a polypropylene face mask, tell them. Whatever it is, tell them. Not making any antimicrobial claims, no drugs added to these things, and no particulate filtering claims unless you're going to go get that certification either in the US or somewhere else. So the EUAs are coming fast and furious. Ventilators were up next. I'm sorry we don't have more slides on this, but we've been discussing this internally. It's the same principle here. There's going to be a request to FDA. FDA will take that request and put it on an authorized list. The expectation on you then is that you're going to comply with the guidance found in the emergency use authorization. I will say that the ventilator emergency use authorization has a lot more technical specifics. If you are doing PPE, I want you to go read that EUA, talk to us about it as well if you need to. If you're doing ventilators, you really need to get into the technical details of this EUA. There's a lot there, as well as expectations for testing. One of the points, and he can clarify if he wants to add it, or one of our folks here, Rick Routson, made to me as he was reading this was, they're not really looking to instantly approve new ventilators. What they're really looking to do is to take existing equipment that provides pressurized air and find a way to adapt it. No, that wasn't the original intended use for the equipment. We weren't going to use it as a ventilator. No one sold it to be a ventilator. No one's going to sell it initially to be a ventilator. But can we take those things? Can we convert them? Can we modify them? And with limitations, can we start using them as ventilators? That's really the focus of what FDA is looking for in this emergency use authorization. Additionally, accessories, because we're hearing about all these splitters that people are building and making, and they're focused on accessories. So probably a recommendation here would be to focus on adaptations of existing equipment and creation of accessories, not so much on we're going to invent a new ventilator from scratch. That really isn't the focus of what FDA is trying to open the floodgates to. So it's really a focus of a change of intended use. Maybe a company needs to make a supplier change. Maybe it's reprocessing information, or maybe it's supply of excess parts as people are cobbling together these systems. I want to open up the line to Rick Routson and see if he's got anything to add through that, because he did much of the primary review of this ventilator EUA.
Yeah, to Gene's point about the supplier changes, they're looking for opportunities to open up the potential supply chain to, for example, if you have an approved device, but that supplier is getting hammered and doesn't have raw material, enough raw material to supply you, they're trying to open up alternative means to get additional equipment, raw materials in to be able to finish off an accessory to be usable. And again, to Gene's point, it can't be, it comes with the, this hasn't been cleared, it hasn't been verified, but it does provide the opportunity potentially to get more equipment out there.
Thanks for that last point, Rick. That's a really important one, because FDA not only says with any of these ventilator systems and accessories, you have to provide the healthcare system as well as any patient who might have this used on them with a disclosure. I also noticed on the website that FDA conveniently prepared a disclosure for the healthcare system and for the patient. So if you're engaged in ventilator adaptations or accessories, I encourage you to read the EUA, avail yourself of the disclosures that FDA has already prepared. And if you've got a tech team there working on those things, please have them read the technical details in this EUA. It's very important that they understand what FDA is looking for technically with respect to the ventilators. We can talk more about that in specific Q&A. Lastly, we're going to talk here for just a second about the 3D printing guidance that was released either yesterday or today. FDA is not saying a lot, but basically what they're saying is, and this is basic medical device design, the 3D printed parts are unlikely to be as effective as the original equipment. Well, that goes without saying. But they're also saying if you can get access to the original part drawings, please do. Please base it off of things. Don't try to innovate if the part already exists. And then verify that it works before sending it to clinical use. Because, I mean, those of us who are engineers, we love to build things, we love to try, and we think they're going to work perfectly fine. But if you don't do something to test it, is that part really just, is it going to connect or is it just going to slip off? Is it going to leak? Is it going to break if you drop it on the floor? If you are engaging in last-ditch efforts for 3D printing, please review the guidance and take some common sense steps to ensure that your design has met some very, very basic testing, like we were just discussing. The reality is that FDA is willing to discuss even 3D printing. They have an email listed in the guidance, and they are willing to talk with you about that as well, because I know there's a lot of people interested in the 3D printing guidance. Okay, we're going to pause it there. We're on the minute to 2:30 because we want to get over to community introductions. Kelly Sexton did a great job with our first one at the outset. The way we're going to prioritize this, please keep the Q&A coming. Our staff are monitoring that, and they're going to triage that for discussion live after the community introductions. But what we want to do right now is we're going to open up the mic selectively, one person at a time. I'll stop the share there. Oh, actually, I'm going to bring the share up so you can see what we've got on the share. What we want to hear, first of all, from healthcare systems. If you represent a healthcare system, first of all in Michigan, but if you're elsewhere calling in, that's fine as well. If you represent a healthcare system and you're willing to say what the healthcare system's needs and or what you're working on. Like Kelly said, we've got this mailing list and we want you to come out and reach into U of M and put your name in and tell us what you can do for us. Make that pitch to us. We're going to give you about 30 seconds to do that. So what I'm going to ask for, and then we're going to go to manufacturers after that. Our manufacturers will start with Jim Metzger over at Keystone. That'll be after the healthcare systems. And then after that, we want to hear from material suppliers. If you're here and you're a material supplier, there's actually a lot of people who want to talk with you. So please, please don't be shy. It's hard to get hold of raw materials at this time. I do want to mention when we talk about the manufacturers, if you have a manufacturing floor and you're a credible manufacturer willing to work on the COVID-19 problem, we want to hear from you. We're not only looking for people who do medical, although that would be the priority. And at the end, if we do have time, we'll open it up to innovators, but the focus starting is healthcare systems. So if you represent a healthcare system, I'd love for you to please, everyone else, keep your hands down. There's a way in Zoom here to raise your hand. If you would, raise your hand if you're part of a healthcare system. I see Jay, Raj put there. We'll bring Jay on next here. If somebody can make Jay live, that would be great. I'm waiting to see if any of our people can make Jay live. Should just be able to push allow to talk there.
Working on it. I'm not seeing that on my end, so.
Okay, I'm actually looking down through here. Can I do a search for Jay? There he is. I've got Jay. We're going to allow Jay to talk. Here you go, Jay. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jay Rajput. First of all, Gene, thank you for putting this together on such a short notice. I hope everybody's well, and so are their families. Real quick, I'm Jay Rajput. I'm the Director of Commercialization and Innovation at Beaumont. And just to give you a quick update, I have some latest numbers that I'll share with you. We have, between our 8 hospitals, we have about 653 patients admitted that have COVID-19 and we have about 20 COVID-19 related deaths, which is really unfortunate at Beaumont. I've been in communication with our supply chain team, and I'm in regular communication with them. We are in desperate need of N95 masks, isolation gowns, air loop masks, face shields, nitrile gloves, body bags, surgical masks. At this point, we're not interested in working with a broker. We would love to work with manufacturers directly. And Gene, you have my contact information. Please feel free to share my email with the folks that are on the call. They can email me directly with their information, what they have, and I'll be happy to pass that along to my supply chain team.
Thank you, Jay, for that. That is wonderful. Appreciate that. Great brief pitch there, and thank you for all you guys are doing there. We're going to go over to Naila Bakuni.
I'm Neela Bakuni. I'm at Baptist Health, South Florida, and somehow I got looped into this
Thanks
from
for being
a
here.
colleague. Thanks. We've been working with FIU and FAU to make face shields. So the universities are working with us on a design that we cleared and tested to make the face shields that will be used. We also even explored making the gowns and sourcing some material, but we found that to be cost prohibitive. So we let that go. And we're currently exploring the best ways to disinfect reusing N99 masks. And we have a new technology that someone has presented to us that we're testing out, that if it works out and we get the data back on that we'd be happy to share with others.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and I'm aware of other reprocessing efforts that are going on. I was just talking to somebody at U of M the other day who's doing that, and obviously Kelly Sexton's on this call, and if you guys need to get in touch and share best practices, I think that's definitely something that can be done. Thank you for that, Naila. Is there anything else that that you are in direct need of?
No, I don't think so at this point. I would maybe like a copy of the presentation since I came in late, and I know that we're looking at retooling the ventilators right now. That looks like part of our strategy because they're only going to deploy those to the hot spots basically for ventilators.
Very good. Yeah, and we've got a recording going of it, and we will distribute that to all the attendees afterwards and post it online. So thank you for that. Great. Any other healthcare systems in attendance? Looking for raised hands. Scrolling down here. Any other healthcare systems?
Hi, this is John Fox, and I'm coming to you from the Beaumont.
It's from Beaumont? Go ahead. Yeah, we just heard from Jay, but go ahead and. Oh, that was kind of weird. Not sure what happened there. I see Nikki Kennedy there. I'm going to allow Nikki on here.
Hey, Gene, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for doing this, Gene. I work for Henry Ford. I'm a vascular surgeon. As a lot of you probably have met me, I have connections with a lot of the other health systems as well, including Detroit Medical Center, Beaumont, St. John Ascension, as well as U of M. From a Henry Ford standpoint, I do not speak officially for the Innovation Institute, but I know that they are actively working. I have a little short list from an email that just arrived. They're doing disposable face shields, procedure masks, some 3D printing projects, and they're also looking for some technology sourcing. So it looks like PPD is where it's at for them. I know there are huge ventilator shortages downtown. The outlying hospitals are holding their own for right now, but we always anticipate more need. If there's anyone who is interested in connecting with my health system, or if I can connect you to another health system for some discussion, clinical input, please let me know. I'd be happy to get my email to you guys through Jean.
Thank you, Nikki. Very much appreciate it. I got to give a shout out to Nikki because she was the one who first turned me on to the 30-second pitches idea a couple months ago. So thank you, Nikki. All right. And with that, we're going to, I see somebody by the name of Ken here who's got his hand raised for healthcare systems. Ken, we're trying to unmute you. There you go.
Yes, Gene, this is Ken Spencer over at MCIRC.
Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Good, very good. Thank you for doing this. So over at MCIRC and Emergency Medicine, Dr. Bob Dixon and Kevin Ward pulled together teams starting early last week, actually, to look at all projects that could potentially be repurposed or refocused on COVID-19. And we put that PowerPoint together, sent it over to Tech Transfer. So I'm sure Kelly probably has that in her group there, and we can make that available to everybody. And Bob essentially put all of those projects into two buckets. One was on PPE, and the other was on diagnostics and tracking. And so we have, in fact, some proposals going to the Military Consortium Directorate right now on the diagnostic front. So we can share all that with anybody that's interested also.
That's great. That's the goal, is to get people connected and just hear what everyone's working on. If there's interest, reach out. We will make the connections. We've got everyone's email here, and we can put people in touch, so don't hesitate to reach out. Great. Thank you, Ken. Any other healthcare systems represented that want just a second here to talk? Looking for other hands up in the air. Go ahead and click your hand up in the air if you're from a health system that you would like to tell us what your needs and your offerings are at the moment. I see Jen. Jen, you're live. Oops, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit my hand. We're on the manufacturing side. We'll wait for the manufacturing side.
Hold on one second. We'll be with you in just a moment. Thank you, Jen. All right. Any other healthcare? I see Anne with her hand in the air. Anne, unmute your mic and let us hear what you got.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. This is Ann Wellington from Cedars-Sinai. We are investigating a variety of sort of different innovative approaches to primarily PPE to supplement the work that our supply chain folks are doing. So similar to kind of everything that was described here, looking at 3D printing, I think we're interested, and what we need is if there are 3D printing specs or use cases, especially we've done a lot around face shields, starting to look at some mask type things that other health systems have looked at and gone through some evaluation of. Would love to see sort of those specs. We have a lot of interested sort of makers in our neighborhood who want to help out, but we'd like to provide them with, here's what we sort of signed off on. And in terms of sort of offering help, we're certainly happy to collaborate or share expertise on any of this work around sort of innovating solutions to PPE or other supply chain issues.
Thanks, Anne. And actually, I think you raise a good point, and I'll look to Aaron to say maybe we can do this. I bet a lot of you on the call have access to some of these designs that are starting to make their way forward and people are starting to use. We can put your links up on that page that we referenced at the beginning as a way to get people to you to see those designs. So feel free to send those to us, and we will we'll post. We're not going to post them on our site. We'll just post a link to your site, and we'll get those up there. Okay, looking for people from healthcare systems. Thank you, Anne and Ken. You guys can lower your hands. I've got a Laura Lynn McDaniel coming live now.
Hello, I'm Laura Lynn McDaniel. I'm not actually with a healthcare system, but I wanted to address the previous question about files, and this seemed like the best time to do it. the NIH 3D Print Exchange has set up a COVID-19 section exactly for the purpose of sharing vetted files and downloading vetted files. They are also working with America Makes and VHA to vet new designs and make them freely available to anyone who needs them.
Laura Lynn, are you able to, in the either the Q&A or the chat or whatever, send those links to our team here, and we'll just post those immediately?
Yes, I just sent a note out to our advisory group about all of that. So
thank you. That's the best way to do it, is if we can get those central aggregation points. Thank you for that, Laura Lynn. We appreciate your stepping out there. Great. We're looking to hear from more healthcare systems. Tell us what your needs are. Tell us what your offerings are. Any more healthcare systems? Raise your hand if you are representing a healthcare system. Okay, if you come back later, we can take you back, because the healthcare systems are a top priority. Want to go to manufacturers, and we're going to start with Jim Metzger from Keystone Solutions. I know Jim's been doing some great things over there on the west side of Michigan. Jim, your microphone's muted, but we'd love to have you pop on and take a minute and tell us about what Keystone is doing and what things you guys want to highlight.
Sure. Thank you, Gene, for putting this together. This is Jim Metzger, president of Keystone Solutions Group. We're a contract development and manufacturing firm for medical device, class 1, class 2 devices. We have an 80,000 square foot facility, 3 class 8 clean rooms. We are currently working on face shields, test sample collection kits, and donating gloves and a variety of different things. So what we need to answer this need, or these needs that are out there, is visibility. So this conference is very good. It gives us visibility on what's needed. And when we say what's needed, specifications are key, right? Sample product and or specifications, volumes, and even target pricing. Some of this stuff is moving really, really fast. Some of it is something that we haven't done before. So we want to be very collaborative and open sourced on all the information as quickly as possible. We have quite a crew, an innovative crew. We've got a great sourcing database. And in such cases where we can help, we will do that. In such cases where we can hook you up with our supply chain, we can do that as well directly, and we'll step out of the way. So we can make, connect, or donate. And that's what we're here for.
That's great, Jim. I really appreciate you being here to tell us about that. And I think there's a lot of people who are trying to sort of ad hoc ramp up and things like that, but you guys do medical devices, and so you've got a lot of your suppliers and stuff like that are already a part of that chain. I've heard already on the call that a lot of people don't really want to work with the middlemen here. They want to go direct to people who can build locally. So we're really glad to have you here and representing what Keystone can do. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Other manufacturers, we'd like to hear from credible manufacturers. Like Jim said, they've got an 80,000 foot floor. That's a good sized floor. You don't need that big, but we would like to know what credible manufacturers have to offer in the region. And I'm looking at our attendee list here. It's giving me grief. There we go. I've got Jen. Hold on one second. We're going to unmute you. There you go. Jen Guarino?
Yes. Hi, my name is Jen Guarino with the Industrial Sewing and Innovation Center in Detroit, really representing a larger consortium, public-private sector. We are working to consolidate and coordinate the manufacturing of primarily masks and gowns so that we can have a single purchase point for healthcare systems, and so that we can standardize the community of manufacturers. So we have a number of manufacturers that are a part of this consortium ready to go. And so we are, our first hospital system that we've been able to connect with is Henry Ford on some surgical face masks and gowns. And we need help with material supply chain and specifications, because we have a consortium ready to go, and our commitment is to making it easy for manufacturers to make standardized product with the best available material, and then to make it easy for purchasers to go into a single online purchasing portal to make their life easier. And we are willing to also buy material in bulk and cut, kit, and distribute across manufacturers. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. Thanks for being there. Other manufacturing facilities representing, raise your hand. I've got, I apologize, attendees. I don't know if any of the folks on my end can see what's going on. I've got 13 hands raised, but for some reason I am not able to get to them. Why is that happening? I apologize for doing this. I'm going to lower everybody's hand really quick here. And please raise your hand again. Are any of my team able to see why we are not able to? Oh, I've got one coming up here. Hold on. Okay, John Nanos, get your 30 seconds. We're going to allow you to talk. Unmute your mic.
Hello. Yes, my name is Dr. John Nanos. I'm with a company, two companies actually, Inawac and Woodbridge. We are a global manufacturing group. We manufacture a variety of different things. Turns out we manufacture face masks in Europe, or I mean in Japan, I'm sorry. And we have a foam N95 compliant mask that is compliant in Japan. And we're trying to domesticate that here in the US quickly. We've imported 3,000 masks that we just distributed throughout Michigan yesterday. And we are now ramping up to the scale of 4 million masks per week. And that is our goal within 30 days. The challenge that we face, the distinct challenge, and I think it's going to be for all N95 type masks or even the surgical masks, is the barrier non-woven that grants that compliance, the N95 compliance for liquid barrier. We can make the foam components and all that we need to for those masks. We are in dire shortage of that barrier film, and that's what we need.
Thanks, John. Thanks for bringing that up. And in fact, you're in a great spot because, like we just said earlier, the standards compliant FFRs and the marketing authorized FFRs both include Japan as a target for standards and for marketing authorization. I hear you bringing up the material question. What I'm going to do is I want to make sure we get over to see if we've got any material suppliers here. So I'm going to take about 2 more manufacturers, and then I'm going to go over to material suppliers, and then I'm going to come back to manufacturers, because we keep hearing this, that the material supply is the big challenge right now. But John, thank you for that. We're going to take 2 more manufacturers. I've got Chelsea Gumrow.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Jean, thanks for doing this. We are a small manufacturer in Roseville, Michigan. We manufacture cutting tools primarily for the automotive industry, but also for heavy farm equipment as well as medical. And I just wanted to pop on here and say, you know, I'm not sure what the need is as far as cutting tools for items like ventilators or any kind of medical equipment, but I wanted to offer my services for that. And then also we have retrofitted some of our machinery and processes to be able to make face masks and face shields as well. So we are working on our first prototypes, and we are working with a couple different individual doctors and hospitals on that, but we are kind of in the beginning stages, but we expect to be up and going on that pretty shortly here.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, I've got two more I'm going to let on here really quick. Adam Steinman. I believe you're on mute. You are able to talk though.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Oh, good. All right, real quick. I'm Adam Steinman. I work for Gentherm. You may have heard that Ford is looking at producing respirators using a blower from a seat module. We are the supplier of that blower. So I'm putting it out there that we make blowers and other components for automotive thermal comfort seating. And if anybody can think of a good use for the ones that we were using for automotive applications, contact me. I'll put my email and phone number in the chat, and look forward to hearing from you.
That's great, Adam. It's good to hear your voice. One quick question for you there. Material suppliers. I know that there's a lot of people looking for materials. Does Gentherm have access to filtration material suppliers who wouldn't normally be thought of as medical filtration?
No, not other than we have our medical business. Gentherm is the owner of Gentherm Medical, which was formerly Cincinnati Sub-Zero, which produces air filtered warming blankets for patient warming. But I believe there's nothing in the automotive section that could be used in a medical application.
Okay, worth asking. Thank you for that, and it was good to see that news coming out. So thanks for doing that, Adam. Really appreciate that. I'm going to let just have John Woodhouse pop on here really quick. John, you are live if you unmute. There you go.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm with MedBio here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We are a medical injection molding contract manufacturer, about 35,000 square feet of clean room manufacturing. We have been on several calls trying to help with ventilator component molding. It does take time to build tools, but our tool shop has committed to rapid turnaround of molds. We committed on a project to 10 to 12 molds in 4 weeks, which is unheard of at this time, but we do have capacity and are here to help.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate that. Good to hear from you. What I'm going to do at this very moment, we're going to come back to the manufacturers. We want everyone to get heard. I do want to just take a moment, have everyone lower their hands, please. What we're going to do is ask if there are any specifically material suppliers out on this call. We would like to hear from you. You've heard over and over again that materials are hard to come by. If you're a material supplier, please raise your hand and give us the very brief 30-second pitch, because believe me, there will be people calling you after this. So I've got April Davis. You're on. If you just unmute, you can tell us who you're with. Just unmute there.
Hey, Gene, can I just interject for a minute?
Yep.
There are a number of folks that are, and this is great, in the question and answers, they're putting information like, hey, we can do this, we can do this. What we're doing them is we're answering them, just saying thank you, and in the answered questions, people will be able to network potentially. For example, one person wanted to get hold of Adam, so I put that in the answered. So look for those answered questions or an opportunity to get your, as well as the chat area.
Perfect. And we'll try to make sure that that chat is visible when the video comes around as well, so people can have access to that. We'll probably copy paste it. Okay, we're looking for April Davis. You're live.
Hi. Good afternoon. This is April Davis, Breakout Marketing Group, but I'm representing Rollins Medical Solutions in Vegas. They have 20,000 masks that fit the ventilators, and they're stuck in China being quarantined. What we need right now is a manufacturer locally that's willing to take the mold or a simple sample of the mold and actually make some for the hospitals and anyone that needs them. They have patents in Japan, the Philippines, Canada, and China. But again, it's being quarantined in China, so we're like frozen. If anyone has any help on how we can move this product forward, they have 20,000 just sitting in their office and afraid to just use them because of what it could possibly turn into something negative if it's not used properly.
Okay,
But,
so you got a manufacturer over there, but the manufacturer is also willing to even move tooling here if need be.
yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll stick some information in the comments or in the Q&A, and we'll have people come your way.
Thanks.
Thanks for that. Jerry Douglas, hold on, allow you to talk. There you go. Just unmute your mic.
Hello,
Again,
can
there
you
you
hear
are.
me?
Yep, we can hear you now, Jerry.
Okay, yes. My name is Jerry Douglas with Innovative Air Management. I'm a Michigan-based company, and I am a major supplier of HEPA-grade filtration media. And I do have the barrier N95 and the N99 material that goes into making the mask and the respirators available. Right now, it's made with a PTFE membrane, or a very high performance membrane. And so if anybody's interested, they can contact me, Innovative Air Management.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. So you said you have access, you're also doing not only masks, but also you have access to the materials.
Yes, we manufacture one of the world's largest manufacturers of the membrane material that goes into that makes the filtering part of the mask.
Great, you're going to be a hot commodity. Get ready for your phone to ring off the hook. Thank you, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry, can you post all your contact info
Okay.
in the chat or the Q&A? Thanks.
Yes, I can post that in the chat.
Thank you.
That works.
Great. If you are a material supplier, please raise your hand. I've got Dara Bennett. Just unmute your mic and you'll be good to go.
Hi, I'm Dara Bennett. Sorry, I have my daughter here. She's being a little loud.
That's okay. What's your daughter's name?
Her name is Maeve.
One more time.
Maeve.
Nave, nice to meet her.
I'm with Boyer Steel. We are a steel tube and pipe distributor. We have a lot of inventory or sources for stainless steel and aluminum, which I know can be used in like ventilators or different things. So if anyone has a need for that, we would love to help out with that. So I'll leave my info, and just if anyone needs anything, let us know.
Thank you, Dara. So you're mostly your metals primarily?
Yep, metal pipe and tube.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. That's one of the biggest needs right now. Great. Other material suppliers. I got Rita King. Just unmute your mic and you're good to go.
Hi, I'm sorry. My name is Russ King. We're not material.
Hey,
we're not a material supplier in the sense that you're speaking of. Method Sense is a 20-year-old regulatory affairs and quality assurance firm helping people through the FDA. We are currently working with 3 separate products: a reusable mask, a ventilator monitoring device, and a COVID-19 diagnostic through the EUA program. And we have, as I said, 20 years of experience working with the FDA. And if you have any interest in experience, or you know of anyone who needs experience actively working with the FDA under the EUA, we can help them.
Thanks, Russ. All right, any other, we're looking for material suppliers right now, and then we're going to go back to manufacturers, but any other material suppliers that are out there that can tell us about your material offerings? Anybody else on the material side? Okay, manufacturers, raise your hands again. We're going to hear from a few more manufacturers, and then we're going to start to do some Q&A. We are going to wrap this back up by about 3:30, and really appreciate everyone's participation. This is absolutely phenomenal. On the manufacturing side, I have Renee Luarn. Did I get that right, Renee?
Hi, can you hear me, Jean?
Yes.
Hi, it's Rayanna.
I'm so sorry, Rayanna.
Luarn. It's okay. It happens all the time. Everyone calls me Ray, so that's easy. I'm a pharmacist by background. I've recently transitioned my company's operations to support production of PPE, specifically face shields for hospitals and frontline personnel. We are doing a community kitting effort underway, and for anything that we can't create because we are just getting started and doing smaller quantities, we now have a couple domestic suppliers that have changed their operations based on our requests and our specs to create face shields. And I'm getting quotes today on face masks. There are two things I would like to share for those that have mentioned it. For diagnostics and tracking resources, there is a national collection of scientists, volunteers that have reagents and experience in processing PCR that an individual from Harvard put up and is available to governments and hospitals that would like unredacted copy of that list, so I can get that over to you. I got it to MishBio a couple days ago. And also there's an organization called providence.org with a 100 million mask campaign, and they give specs. It's basically a sketch and the raw materials that they used in order to create and face masks and surgical masks for use in their hospital system. I do have one request, is that we are getting questions on sourcing body bags. And I have called the biggest supplier in the US today, and they don't have enough to sell outside of supplying to their funeral homes. So just wondering if you could get any further information out on materials that can be used for body bags with and without refrigeration, as I understand that is becoming more of a concern.
You're looking for specs primarily, or you're looking for sourcing primarily?
I think specs are going to be what's needed, because from what I understand of sourcing is that that is rapidly becoming unavailable. I will put my information in the chat box, but it is Ray Lawarn, and I'll put my email and phone number in there.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate your participation. I've got Matthew Cheng. Just unmute your mic.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm the CEO of Tile Tracker. We're a technology-enabled manufacturing company. You may have seen our product. We have 170 installations in the resort market and in the fitness market, where we distribute towels. And we've always known that we could distribute medical supplies through the Tile Tracker. We've never specifically gone after this market, but we're realizing that we really can help health systems distribute products like PPE. Specifically, the way our product works is we have a clean and a return side to the Tile Tracker, if you've never seen it. And the clean side is electronically opened through use of credentials. And when the product is completed, you can put the used PPE into the return side, where it's sanitarily collected and can be recycled, or you could dispose of it, or for reused products like face shields, goggles, and reusable respirators, they can be sanitized. The big
Matthew, let me just pause you there really quick, because we got to go on to the next person. But I think what I hear you saying, and clarify if I forgot this right or not, is you've got a product that if we were trying to do something like reusable or reprocessing of respirators, and we needed a collection point that would take those securely, this would be that kind of a collection point.
It would be, but we can also distribute on-time use items too.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Put your information in the Q&A or the chat, and I should ask Aaron, are we wanting people to put information in the Q&A or put it in the chat? What's your preference?
I think if people just stick it in the chat, that would get the information out faster.
Okay.
So we don't have to process it through the Q&A stuff.
Send it to the chat. Thank you very much, Matthew. We appreciate that. Next up, we've got Kyle Gastrin. Did I get that right, Kyle?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Wonderful. Thanks for the time. Thanks, Gene. I'll be brief. So I'm the general manager of Roush Manufacturing. So if you hear Roush, we're local to Livonia, Michigan. We've got about 3.2 million square feet of space and about 5,000 employees, ranging from designers, engineers, and manufacturing personnel. So we've got capacity right now in machining, fabrication, 3D printing. We're working to develop surgical gowns, face masks, face shields, and then also some respirator carts. So if we can be of assistance to anybody in here, we're happy to do so. We've had some folks reach out to us as of late, just surrounding specialty items such as a barrier for emergent innovations in the anesthesiology portion of the business. So happy to help however we can. I'll post my information in the chat, but we've got a lot of resources, and we're happy to help however we can.
Kyle, thank you so much. That's wonderful, and what a great offer of all that space and all those people. And I think what we keep hearing today is people are wanting to go, the health systems are wanting to go direct to people who can put stuff together. And so if there are ways that that can be done, that's a wonderful connection. Everybody, if you're looking for space and people, there you go. Kyle from Roush. We're going to go on to Carly Billings. Carly, you're live.
Hi. So my name is Carly Billings. I work for RTI Surgical. We're a medical device manufacturing plant up in the Upper Peninsula. We've got a 115,000 square foot building, and we're already FDA certified for Class 1, Class 2, and ISO Class 7 clean room. We have packaging and assembly that we can do, but really we're looking for someone to partner with to see how we can assist with machining parts, assembly, cleaning, packaging, that type of thing. We would need drawings and that. We do have a full engineering staff, but we're still in operations right now for our med devices as well. But I'm kind of the first point of contact. So I did put my email in the chat and the Q&A. It's kbillings@ritix, RTIX.com. And yeah, so we're just trying to get our name out there and try to help out with some machining needs.
That's great. We appreciate it, Carly. Thanks for stepping up. I've got Kurt Ivory. Kurt, you're on. Just unmute your microphone.
Thanks, Gene. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, Kurt Ivory with RPB Safety. So we're a NIOSH certified respirator manufacturer here in Michigan.
Wow.
Up until last week, our target market was the industrial sector, so we didn't actually do anything in the medical field. But as you've seen, FDA has opened up industrial respirators for this crisis, so we're doing all we can to help. Also, as of today, we're just beginning our first shipment of face shields as well. So utilizing a lens from one of our respirators, we've converted that into a face shield. Where we need some help is our current capacity is for the face shields is 10,000 units a day, and we've received orders in. I think we're lead times out to about the 18th of April now. The biggest constraint is Velcro straps. So if we can get any support on sourcing Velcro or getting a Velcro strap for us, we could increase that capacity to 50,000 face shields a day. But we do also have supplied air respirators. So if anyone has any use or is able to connect to supplied air, that's the easiest product for us to rapidly increase volume. We do have powered air at the moment. We are about 3 weeks out on producing powered air products. We have a product in at NIOSH about to be certified, which we will better drastically increase production on once we get that certification.
Kurt, that's awesome. So you are making these, you could use more, did you say you need more space, or you got the space to do it?
We've got 56,000 square feet here in Royal Oak.
Okay.
So space we're good on. It's more raw materials, the number one item being Velcro straps. Foam, we may need more support on foam at the moment. We've had a fantastic relationship with an automotive manufacturer who has been helping us on foam. But I'm sure as this continues to ramp up, we may be looking for foam, clear plastic for the face shields. And I was also interested in Adam's comment about blowers. We may better work with them to get more blowers for the AVRs.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. Really quickly, I know a lot of the healthcare systems would be eager to know, can you get them respirators right now?
Supplied air, we could. On the powered air, the orders that were received in the last 3 days has put us out about 3 weeks on a powered air system.
But you're saying you've got like dust masks, N95s even?
No. So
okay.
Ours are all supplied or powered air. So if anyone has a compressed air system or a system that they can connect into that's breathing air,
gotcha.
We've got head tops that could work for that. And no, we don't do anything on the N95. side or type thing.
I understand. Okay, so this is the powered stuff, like the PAPRs now is what we're talking about. Great.
Yes.
Kurt, thank you so much for being there. Put your information in the chat and we'll connect people. I've got Kyle Van Koevering. Is that right, Kyle?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. I wear a couple different hats. I'm a head and neck surgeon at University of Michigan, but I also have a research lab in 3D printing on the engineering campus at U of M. And we have a local company called Make Medical that is a 3D printing company here in Ann Arbor. We're actively printing right now face shields, full face shields, about 1,000 to 1,500 a day is what our capacity is. And we're definitely looking to get our hands on more sheeting material, thin, clear sheeting, PET or vinyl or polycarbonate from suppliers. And then we're also in the lab working on very rapidly developing techniques to expand ventilatory capacity with our current resources. So just trying to get some feelers out there where the need may be.
That's great. A lot coming out today. And are you offering that you guys have 3D printing capacity? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Cal. Really appreciate your joining. Tyler Kipke, you're on. Just unmute. Are you there, Tyler? Okay, we'll come back to Tyler in just a minute here. We're going to go to Kamal Manku. You're muted, but you're on the air. Kamal Manku.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So my name's Kamal, and I'm an engineer here at Titan Pharmaceutical Machinery, Shelby Township, Michigan, Metro Detroit. And what we're getting involved with right now is building machines that make face masks. So we anticipate what a shortage is going to be is the woven material that we're going to need for acceptance testing for our customers. I know there was somebody online there that does supply the material, so I'll get that information. And at the same time, I also want to put out there that we are making these machines. So if there's anybody interested in purchasing these machines from us, we can definitely provide that assistance to them.
Thank you for that. Okay, I've got a, oops. I believe I've got Shane Davis on the line. Shane, can you confirm you're here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What do you got for us?
So my name is Shane Davis, and I'm with Canfield Connector and Spartan Scientific in Youngstown, Ohio. And we're a manufacturer of solenoid valves that may be useful in ventilators. And we also manufacture control circuits. We react quickly to design requests, and we're ready to go with anybody that could use our help at this point.
That's an interesting thing in relation to some of the adaptations of existing systems. You guys might have the ability to put some control around that. Thank you for that, Shane. Appreciate your calling in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's see. I'm looking at Bob Becker. Unmute your mic and you're on.
Hi, thank you. My name is Bob Becker. I own a manufacturing company in Shelby Township, and I'm going to be making splash shields. I've got an order from Beaumont for 20,000. I've ordered material for 100,000 masks, and knowing people are going to need them, I can make between 7,000 and 10,000 of them a day. So I want to make sure that I get my name out there, that I'm linked to people that actually need the masks.
That's great, Bob. Do you have stock right now that if somebody called you up, they could get, or how far out are you?
It's going to be Thursday or Friday. I'll start producing and shipping. And then my materials are the limiting factor, as everybody knows. So I ordered enough to make 100,000, knowing that the need's out there. And as long as I can continue to get material, I'll keep producing at about 7,000 to 10,000 a day.
That's great, Bob. Thank you so much for that. And if you need face masks, now you know where to go, or face shields, now you know where to go. I am going to try to pop through. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 folks. We're going to limit this to about 30 seconds each. Please go fast, but Cindy Wadnicki, and then we're going to go to questions after these four.
Wow, that was very good. Thank you. Cindy Wadnicki, Custom Amp Covers, Rochester Hills, a small manufacturing company. We've made covers for sound equipment primarily for 20 years, have commercial sewing machines. We're used to sewing large items. I was going to put ourselves on the table for face masks and gowns, but we could handle larger items like body bags. Ew.
Yeah. That's where we are right now, and thank you for being willing to do that. Cindy can do commercial sewing. Thank you so much, Cindy. I've got Alan Largan. You are on.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, thanks for the time. My name is Alan Largan. I work at Rock Ventures. We are the family office for Dan and Jennifer Gilbert here in Detroit, and oversee the family of companies. Just wanted to say thank you for organizing this. We are currently working with the Michigan Hospital Association, MHA, and the MEDC to aggregate all of this information that's being thrown out there of who needs what and who has the ability to do what. So I just wanted to say if we could convene after this to aggregate all of this data into some that we've already had, that would be great.
We would certainly appreciate your help. Thank you for calling in, Alan. One of the panelists can get you our contact information direct here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to try one more time with Tyler Kipke. If you unmute, you are on. And are you there, Tyler? Okay, that's not working. We're going to have you put your thoughts in the comment chain there, and we'd love to connect with you. Last manufacturer, Russell Ramsey. Russell, you're on. Just unmute your mic. Russell, are you there?
Oh, there I am.
There you are, Russell. How's it going?
Hey, good, thanks. Yeah, my name is Russ Ramsey. I am with a company called DornaWorks. We're an engineering firm in Grand Rapids. What I want to put out there is IoT is one of our specialties, and I noticed in the EUA the need for wireless sensing of ventilators and other treatment equipment. So we can help with adding that type of monitoring to existing products. So if there's any ventilator manufacturers that's looking to add that type of functionality, we'd love to talk to you.
Thanks for that, Russ. And so I guess if somebody's working on ventilators and they are getting into those tech specs and they see that and they say, well, what do I do with this? You'd be a person to talk to. Thank you for chiming in there. Really appreciate it. Okay, we are going to move over to Q&A, and I will go over to Aaron to give me the summary of how we're gonna go about that here. We spend most of our days designing and developing medical devices, talking to the FDA. We don't usually do radio call-in shows, but we're having a lot of. We're just thankful that we can do this as a community. Overwhelmed by, we had, I think our peak was like 209 people on here or something like that. So thank you all for being here and doing this. We're going to go to Q&A. Aaron, what's our Q&A status? Should we start having people raise hands, or do you have a chain of live answers that we can do here?
I think we've covered a lot of stuff already in the Q&A section, and I think a lot of the stuff is we're going to, as a blanket statement, we're going to post the recording. We're going to post the slides. We're going to go through the chats and the Q&A stuff, aggregate all of the contact info and statements that people have made in those places. And then I think we'll connect with Alan also to sort of make sure this gets broadcast onto their lists and things like that too. If anyone has any specific questions that we haven't covered yet, I think maybe post them in the Q&A part, and we'll try to get to them. Otherwise, I think if you guys we can keep going with people talking about what they're doing right now too.
Okay, that sounds great. I do just want to take 1 minute here to just reach out, and I'm going to forget some people in this, but when we decided to do this call-in yesterday, and started putting things together. People just came out of the woodwork to push it to their mailing lists and connect people. And we just can't tell you how grateful we are, everybody who participated in that. Folks from U of M, Mish Bio, Henry Ford, Beaumont, the Med Health Cluster, Tech-Town, Felsen Irvin, Spark. We had folks at Keystone sending stuff out, and Spectrum, and I believe MSU, and just everywhere. And I hope I didn't forget somebody there, because it's been a long night. But thank you all for all you've done. It was exceptionally meaningful to me to see how this community will come together, share information, and put people together. That means the world to see, and I'm so encouraged that you would all do this and be part of this conversation. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who's participating and who got the word out yesterday. It means more than you can imagine. Let's see, do we have any questions or hand raises? We will either hear from questions, manufacturers, healthcare systems, or material suppliers. We would love to hear from material suppliers at this point. Do we see any hand raises at this point? Frank Nee. Frank, you're on.
Okay, I'm not a manufacturer, but I'm a innovator type. Basically, we are incubator and an investment firm from Tsinghua University. And when we have the crisis in China, and we have a company in China that's doing quite good work. They develop a lot of fiber type of N95. And I'm finding out they actually can last 10 times longer than the current N95. So I'm doing the testing through labs, national labs here, with 3 samples I sent out today. But I am going through the large testing. They are certified in CE and also in Chinese KN95 standard. But I'm trying to get a product here as soon as possible. And this today, I probably get 10,000 here. I'm trying to distribute to people to try it out, see how things work out. But I believe it's going to be great.
That's great, Frank. I mean, both of the things you're doing there are good. If you want it to be certified here under like N95, the testing that you're doing sounds like it's probably appropriate. And if you can import them not as an N95 or a certified thing, but you can get them under one of those lower claim things like we talked about, that would also be good as well. If you've got any questions you want to follow up and talk, we can certainly do that afterwards. But thank you for what you're doing. That's great. It sounds like you've got experience with the last outbreak there.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Raise your hand if you've got a question. Not seeing any other hands right now. We're just going to give it a couple minutes before we close out, because I still see the chat is going. People are doing well. Let me open it up to any of our team here who's got anything you might want to add, highlight, reflections on what we've talked about thus far. Adrian, Rick, Aaron, anything else you guys want to say at this point?
There was some discussion about doing this again. I think we've had some internal discussions about maybe doing this next week as well. It would be just because the landscape sort of changes, on a daily basis. So if that happens, we'll send out another email blast with the registration info and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can almost guarantee it if there's more EUAs coming out or developing stuff. That'd be a no-brainer, and we'll gauge interest in that. One last call for questions. Anyone have a question or something you want to say? We can. I see one hand. Let's go up here. Back to Kurt Ivory for a moment.
Thanks, Gene. Hey, just one question. Sorry, I missed it earlier, but someone on here said that they had injection molding capacity.
I think we heard from Med Bio, who has injection molding capacity over there. I know that Keystone would have access to molders. I think we also heard about somebody with masks in China who has molds and they're willing to ship them to the US. I think those were the molding things that we heard. If you have anything else to add to that, team, raise your hand and tell Kurt what you've got. Was that your question, Kurt?
Yeah, I just, yeah, the MedBio, if someone can just reach out to me, we would be very interested.
Name your company again really quick, Kurt.
The company is RPB Safety. Extra injection molding capacity would be another thing that we would need.
Great. Thank you, Kurt. Really appreciate that.
Kurt, where are you located?
Oops, we're going to allow Kurt back on the talk there. Go ahead, Kurt.
Yep, sorry, yeah, Royal Oak, Michigan.
Okay, yep. Yeah, MedBio is over on the west side of the state.
Okay.
Great. I've got a question from Jeff Nelson. Jeff, you're on.
Yeah, hi, Kurt. I've got to work for a company in Shelby Township, and we've got 110 injection molding machines sitting idle right now. So my information is in the comments. If you can get a hold of me there, maybe we can help you out.
Great, Jeff. Thank you. What's the name of your company?
It's CIE USA.
CIE USA. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate you being there.
Yep.
Going back to Kurt Spencer for a second.
Hey guys, yeah, this is Kurt Spencer. Just jumping in at the end real quick. I work at ROKA, R-O-K-A, and we do mostly sport performance optics, but we've got a ton of inbound requests for some specialty items where existing PPE or safety glasses don't work for extreme cases or extended use. People are getting massive tissue damage, and in some cases, our sport performance optics are a better option for them, and they're desperate for them. We're trying to change all of our inventory over to clear lenses, and putting as much of our existing sport performance optics now into service here. So we've put up a quick section on our website just under safety glasses at roka.com if anyone knows anyone in need or is experiencing that use case.
Thank you very much for that. Like we were saying earlier, you don't have to claim anything more than what they are, and that'll be a great asset. Wonderful. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Looking around, going back to our panel of staff here, anything that we want to add to that? We will follow up, and we will see about the advisability of doing this again next week, especially if circumstances warrant. I cannot, once again, tell you how much it means to have the community come together in this way. All of the folks who circulated emails, sent it out to blast lists. I think Alicia from MedTech sent it out like 3 times today. I really appreciate that. Everybody, thank you so much. It's so heartening to see the community come together. One last look to see if we have any other questions. And with none being seen, we're going to close this. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day and keep doing what you can. We really appreciate it.